Discord. All right. Well, today we are talking technical SEO. So technical SEO, there's different types of SEO. We've talked a lot about local SEO because that's our bread and butter with our clients, trying to help their Google business profile rank better for the map terms. We do that through the GBP as well as citation building and some other stuff. But that's local. There's organic SEO or more like broad SEO, and that's getting them to rank within Google for like the organic listing underneath the map pack. And that has a lot to do with what we do on the page, the content we're optimizing, the backlinks we're building. So we've talked a lot about those in the past. There's another element of SEO that is pretty critical, and that is the technical SEO. And so that's what we're going to focus on today, is just this technical SEO, what it is, why it's important. And the goal for this is just, again, with a lot of these SEO power half hours, is just to arm you with some more knowledge to help you understand kind of the puzzle pieces of SEO and how it all works together. So today we are focused on technical SEO. That's what we're going to talk about. This is a fun little write-up from SEMrush, which I'm not going to read, but I'll send the deck after if you guys want to read this. But basically, this just talks about what technical SEO is, and how it's really just making your website easier for crawlers to find, for search engines to crawl, and easier for them to find and easier for them to crawl. And we'll go into that. But that in the essence, there's so many things you can get into with technical SEO. Like if we got really nerdy, we talk about like href lane tags and rel canonicals. Like we're not going to get that nerdy today. We're just talking high level. Like technical SEO is all about having your site be able to be crawled and indexed with Google. That is what matters. So there's a fun article you can read if you want some light reading for your weekend about technical SEO. But let's just talk about like how important it really is. So I have this pyramid here. It's a beautiful pyramid that I used the pen tool within Canva. I'm becoming a Canva user. Never used Canva until this job. Figured out the pen tool. I have hidden, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers of this pyramid. Which layer do you think technical SEO is? Is it the foundation? Is it in the middle? Is it the top thing you kind of do at the end? Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, but any guesses where technical SEO would fit on the pyramid of SEO? And there's like 5 of you, so someone can just guess.
Would it be the
Like,
top?
or in the middle?
Top, middle, both good guesses. I will spare you guys all the awkward silence by asking for more participation. It is the bottom. It is the base of our strategies. The bottom being like, this is the foundation, the most important, really the most important piece. Because without technical SEO, like we, again, I was having fun with like the pen and the highlighter. You're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff in this deck. But without technical SEO, like we're not going to get ranked. So this just kind of like, why is it so important? Why is it the foundation? Like the goal of SEO is to drive traffic, right? We want to get people to our site. We want to get people to our Google business profile. We want to get people calling our shop from Google. In order to drive traffic, you must be ranked for keywords. All right. So if we need to be, that's what we need to do. Well, in order to rank for keywords, you need to be indexed. We'll talk about indexing in a second, but index is basically you need to be in Google's system. They need to know who you are and have their pages in Google, right? They need your pages to be in Google or be indexed. In order to be indexed, you must be crawled. You must be able to have them send out their robots. They call them crawlers. A crawler or a spider is just a robot that Google or any search engine sends that goes to every website on the internet, and it'll go on your website, it'll crawl every page, learn about it, and send that information back to the search engine, Google being the main one we talk about. And in order to be crawled, you must have a good technical foundation. So like without a good technical foundation, like you can't be crawled. If you can't be crawled, you can't be indexed. If you can't be indexed, you can't be ranked. Can't be ranked, you're never going to show up in Google. So, like, we could have the best content in the world. We could build all the backlinks in the world. We could do everything else. But if your technical SEO sucks, like, you are dead on arrival. Like, everything else is a mute point and it doesn't matter. So that's why technical SEO is really the building block. If we go backwards, it is the bottom of the pyramid. It is the foundation of any SEO strategy. Um, and so with your clients, with our clients here at Lyft, anytime we have a client come in and onboard, the first thing, one of the first things, we do a lot of things, but one of the first things we do within the first week of them onboarding is run a technical SEO audit to make sure that everything is set for them. So we're not running into any issues of kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by not being able to be crawled or indexed. I'm gonna pause for a second because I go into lecture mode. Any questions at this point? Any thoughts? I know this seems pretty straightforward. Sebastian, what's up?
About crawlers, I was wondering how good for SEO would be to have like subdivisions of topics. Let's say you have a service page in one of Lyft's sites, right? Let's say you have oil changes or fluid flushes, right? How about you separate those into 10, like oil, fluid flush, and brake fluid? Like you separate to create more pages. Is that something that is unnecessary, or is that something that would really help? Since it is also something that can be done very quick with ChatGPT and another tool for, so it is not duplicated content.
Yeah,
I was wondering about that.
that's a great question. With that, it really depends on what Google or the crawlers are favoring. So if we have a website where we do have a fluid flush page, but there are like 5 different types of fluids that we flush, if we were to Google and say fluid flush in Tampa, Florida, because that's where the shop is, and we saw that all of the pages that were ranking for that keyword, they had all their fluid flush services on the same page. We would probably be fine to have them all on one page. We wouldn't need to create individual pages. However, if we start looking at those individual like brake, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. I don't know cars that well, but like let's say brake fluid flush or transmission fluid flush. I'm trying not to say a fluid that doesn't exist in a car. A blinker fluid flush, right? No, that doesn't. That's not real. Um, but if we were to Google like brake fluid flush or transmission fluid flush, Tampa, Florida, and we saw that there was individual brake fluid flush pages or transmission fluid flush pages, then we would probably want to create a unique page. But a lot of times when it's such a similar service and it's kind of encapsulated by the core, just fluid flushes, if you do brake fluid flush, if you do that search, typically you're probably just going to see a broad fluid flush page show up in the SERP. So the answer is like it depends. We need to do individual research for that region or that area. But what we would always recommend is what Google is favoring. So if Google is favoring like one broad page that captures them all, and no matter what type of fluid flush you search, that those pages are showing up, let's do that. If, however, they're favoring the more long tail version, the more specific niche of a flush, then we'd want to create the unique pages. So does that answer your question?
Yes. So about crawlers is not always about like the amount of things. So it's not like you can just push a bunch of content and then that will be better. No, like it really depends on what Google favors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. It doesn't matter about the amount of content for crawlers. Um,
Okay.
Crawlers, and we're going to talk about that here. Crawlability is the first. Check that out again. Look at the highlights. We're talking about crawlability. Crawlability is being how efficiently a crawler or a robot, when they come onto your site, um, how efficiently they're able to crawl your site. That's huge. So if you have like 30 pages that are all very similar about fluid flushes, different types of fluid flushes, that might confuse the crawler because it's all such similar content. So that could provide a very poor experience for the crawler. I'm a big advocate. We all know people have feelings. I believe crawlers have feelings too. They may be robots, but they want their life to be easy. So within our technical analysis, whenever running an audit, we just want to make sure our websites are as crawlable as possible. And what does that mean? That means whenever a crawler or a robot, and this diagram kind of shows you like you have your website, Google's going to send their crawler. They call them spiders. That's why it looks like a spider. They're going to send their spider or their crawler, their robot to your site, and it's going to go spider or crawl every one of your pages. The more efficiently they can crawl your pages, the happier they're going to be, and the more they're going to like your site. So that's where when we're doing a technical analysis, we're going to look for something like dead pages. A dead page is a 404 page. Have you guys ever encountered those on a website? You don't like it. Guess what? Crawlers don't like it even more because as they're crawling, what the crawlers do, they're going to go to um, your sitemap. If you know, we'll talk about that in a second. But they're going to go to your site and they're going to start on one page and they're going to crawl that and they're going to find all the links on that page and they're going to crawl those. They'll find all the links on the other pages and they'll crawl those. And anytime they're crawling and they hit a dead page, they have to like reverse and go back and try and find another link to find. And so it's just a poor experience. So as we're doing this technical analysis and we're trying to make it so your sites are as crawlable as possible, we're trying to find little things like that make it so the crawler or the robot can just have a good time on your website. They can just enjoy it. They can easily just run through all the pages and then be on their way. The way that we can really know how or we can like give the crawlers directions because you can actually tell a crawler how to crawl your site. Is it something called the robots.txt file? By raise of hands, has anybody heard of the robots.txt file? Kind of, Sebastian, a little bit. If you go to any website on the internet, anyone at all, and you do the website / robots.txt, you are going to get a file that looks like this. This is Marlin's. Some are very simple. This is Marlin's. Basically, this is where we can give instructions for the robot. We can say, hey, robot, you're coming to my site. Here are pages to ignore to save you time. Or here are pages you should focus on. And so within the robots file, we can give directions. And every crawler, the first thing they do when they go to a website is they go to this file. This is the first place they're going to start. And so typically you'll give them directions. This one doesn't have any. If you go to Nike's, you can see like Nike's has a lot of info. Also, if you put a pound sign, they ignore what's ever next. So really cool websites, in my opinion, they're cool. They'll do stuff like this where they put fun things in their robots file. Like a Nike sign. Anyways, so they're going to crawl this and then the best practice is at the end, you should always have your sitemap. Your sitemap is just kind of like the blueprint of your website. And so then they'll read the directions and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to ignore this page, this page, this page. And now I'm going to go to sitemap where I see all the pages and I'm going to just start crawling all of those pages. So it creates a really great experience for the crawlers and they just have a party on your site when you have that. Every site has a robots.txt file. Most of them are going to look something like this, especially for our clients, because our sites are very basic and simple. There's not a lot we need to tell them to ignore because our sites are pretty small. But that's a robots file, and that's how like crawlers start crawling your site. Is that they're just going to go crazy. They go to that file, and then they get their instructions. They go to your sitemap, and then they just crawl it. It's important that you put your sitemap here because if your sitemap's not there, they're just going to go to your homepage, and they're just going to crawl every page they can find. And if they miss a page, like you're out of luck. Like they're not going to crawl that one. Where if you look at a sitemap, this is Marlin's sitemap, like right here, these are all the blog posts. And anytime a new blog post gets pushed live, it goes into this list. And so the crawler can find it. Same here. Here are all of our pages. So you can see the pages that are there. We got our services. And so right there, like if you're thinking again about convenience for a crawler, like we are serving up the pages to them on a silver platter. It's super easy and convenient for them to go ahead and crawl our site. So that is really the focus of crawling. And And again, like one key component of a technical SEO is just making sure your site is as crawlable as possible. Um, we're just we are nerdy today. This is nerdy stuff, but I like nerdy stuff. The other thing we'll talk about, and then we'll just open it up to questions, is indexing. So again, like it's one thing to have Google crawl your page and like learn about it. The next is to have them actually put it in their index. Because again, if you're not in the index, you don't show up. The index is just imagine a giant file cabinet. If you know what a file cabinet is, um, if you don't, Google it. And I'm gonna. I had a student I teach at UVU. I had a student. I was like, "Hey, everybody, bring in a thumb drive next class because that's where you're gonna save your projects." I had a student come up to me at the end of class. She was an 18-year-old freshman, first class of college, and she's just like kind of embarrassed, but she's like, I don't want to ask in front of everybody, but can you tell me what a thumb drive is? I have no idea. I was like, oh my gosh. Am I this old? Is this happening to me? It's like the floppy disk of old. Anyways, imagine the index is just a giant filing cabinet that like every single page on the internet, once it's crawled, it gets put in this filing cabinet that Google can then just open and reference and then put like they use all the pages in the filing cabinet to show up on Google. If you're not in the filing cabinet, you're not indexed, you're not showing up. Um, and so the way that we can know that we're getting indexed and that we're showing up, like it's not like something you just have to like hope is happening. You can actually like know that you're indexed. To do that, you go to Search Console. Hopefully you've all heard of Search Console. Jesse led a great SEO power half hour on Search Console. So if you missed that, you can go back and watch the recording. But within Search Console, you can come in here and there's a whole section on indexing. And it will literally tell you if you go to pages, it'll tell you how many pages are indexed, 78, how many pages are not indexed. And you can see like, oh, well, look, I have 85 pages not indexed. There are 6 different reasons. Here are the reasons they're not indexed. There's 27 that are dead pages, 404ing, so Google doesn't want to index a dead page. That makes sense. We should probably clean those up and get rid of them. There's 23 that have a no index tag, which is okay. Like these are pages that we have told Google we do not want to have indexed. And these ones are typically like, you can see this like a feed page. So like this page doesn't really even exist. It's just like, that's what it looks like. We don't want that to be crawled. So we've told Google with a bit of code on the page to not index it. There's other reasons here. You can see like there's redirects, canonicals. We're not even going to touch on that. These two are the ones that are super annoying. That is just like crawled, currently not indexed. And so it's just like, hey, we crawled it, but we didn't index it for you. So sorry, Charlie, we haven't indexed it. If that happens, you can just come in here and you can look at them. And most of them like don't really matter. However, if I look at this one, like this looks like a blog post that probably should be indexed. So anytime me and my team we'll go through your Search Consoles fairly regularly. I mean, there's 130 plus clients, so it's not every day, but we do try to look at this. And if we see something like this, we can actually come in here and you can request manually. Oh, my hand is raised. Stop. Hand raise. You can request manually for Google to index it. And so that's where this is retrieving the data. It's taking a minute. Anyways, we could come in here. It's going to read the page, tell us why it's not being indexed, and then we can request for it to be indexed if it were to show up. We're short on time, so I'm not going to go through that with you. But like this is our cheat sheet. This is how we can know, and this is how you can always know, like if you have a page not performing super well for your client, a really great thing to do is to come into Search Console and just like take a peek to see like, is it being indexed? Like if it's not showing up or ranking at all, like let's make sure it's indexed, because if it's not indexed, it's not going to rank. That's taking a long time to do that. If you're ever curious if one is being indexed, instead of having to go through this, you can actually just get the URL. So I copied the URL, and in this top row where it says inspect any URL for the website, you can click on it and this will do that same thing. It just, you don't have to try and find the page through the index section. So, but that's going to take forever for some reason. So that's really how you can know if things are being indexed. At the end of the day, when it comes to technical SEO, there's a lot we can talk about. We could spend, again, hours getting nerdy into like very deep technical stuff. But from a high level, and what I just wanted to convey to you today is like the core of technical SEO is making sure your site is crawlable and indexable. And if you're doing those two things, there's a lot of little things that help us to do that, little tactics we do. But like that is our goal. And as long as we're hitting those two things, like everything else we do will be successful. Like all of our optimizations, all of our citations, all of our backlinks, that only works if we have that technical SEO set. So I'm gonna call it there because we are at the 10:30 mark. I have more time for questions. If you have any about technical SEO or any other questions, I'm just gonna open it up. This is a half-hour mark though, so if anyone needs to drop out, I understand. No hard feelings. Thank you for joining this technical SEO session. So let's just open it up to see if there are any questions about technical SEO or anything else. All right, I'll ask you one question first before you all dip. Did that make sense? Like, what, like, does that give you a better understanding of like when someone says technical SEO, like what we're looking for, what we're analyzing?
Yes, it did.
Cool. Cool. Well, I'll just hang out for a second. If someone has a question, whether even if it's like a client question that you want to ask, like there's 9 minutes left in this room. I'm gonna stop the recording. You're more than welcome to hop out if you don't have questions. But if you do have a question, feel free to stay in. You can ask away. And thank you all for joining. Have a great Friday, and we will all chat later. So let me stop recording.
Thank you, Trent.
Yeah, have